What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're checking out the Log+Jotter notebook subscription for March of 2024. The subscription costs $5 a month, is made in the USA, and they send you a 3.5 inch by 5.5 inch pocket notebook with a unique cover each and every month, and the page style of your choosing. Now this month's Log+Jotter is going to be a little bit shorter, and you'll see why when we get into it. So I am going to add a little bit to the end of the video with a look at a couple knives that we've recently reviewed that I got comments requesting some additional information. So maybe interesting if you were also wondering about that, but if not and you only care about the notebook, that's going to be the first half of this video. So let's dive in, see what they sent us for March of 2024. So as you can see, this month we have this kind of vintage advertisement look. At least that's what it looks like to me. This colorway just has a vintage or retro feel to it. And you can see we have a bunch of repeating Log+Jotter logos, but a bunch of different styles that we've seen on different notebooks. They're facing different directions and different orientations, different colors. We also have a Made in USA stamp here as well. And if I open that notebook up, you'll see that that design does extend fully onto the back cover, which I always appreciate, that it's not just a logo on the back cover or a mirror of the front cover. It's actually a unique design that's an extension of that front cover. And so I like the looks of this a lot. I love the colors that they went with, and I like these repeating logo type patterns. I just picked up a Zippo with repeating case logos, kind of similar to this, and so that definitely resonates with me. Let's check out the internals of this notebook. So you can see I do get the dot pages, and those are numbered. The blank ones won't be numbered. Besides dot, you can get, of course, that blank or grid style page, and no matter which one you go with, you are going to get 40 pages, of course. Now let's take a look at the front cover, and this is pretty typical of what we normally see in the front cover. We have an inch ruler, spot for some dates and contact info, summary and log section, as well as the page prompts, and I always enjoy reading these. So let's dive into this month's prompts, which says pick one and fill a page. And the prompts are: things have changed, my bad habits, sketch yourself a logo, start planning a trip, a story about my aunt, spring cleaning list, a one-page movie idea, and something I wonder about. So definitely some interesting prompts, and interesting that there's no kind of references to any of the holidays this month or the season really, with St. Patty's Day and Easter. And I appreciate that because I typically do not use these the month that they send them. And so let's take a look at the back cover, and if you've seen these before, you'll immediately recognize what's wrong with it, what's different. And so we have a large section for a list, important dates, a centimeter ruler, and then you can see the issue design is, of course, logos for March of 2024. Now, typically in the space that the list section is currently residing, or at least a big portion of that, is a section called inspiration, and they tell you why they went with the design that they went with, as well as any additional information or context to that cover. Now this cover is pretty obvious, but I still do miss that. That's one of the things I really enjoy about these, and one of the reasons I buy Log+Jotters, even though I buy field notes as well, I enjoy buying Log+Jotters. One, of course, for the unique covers. I always enjoy seeing what covers they come up with, but the personal touch that comes with them, and it feels like you're buying from a small company, which they very much are. And so I enjoy seeing what they have to say about it and that personal touch that you get with the inspiration. So I'm definitely hoping we see a return of that in April. One other thing worth noting is that historically April has also been the month that they send a sticker with the notebook, and so I'm hoping that trend continues as well and we get a sticker next month. We'll definitely have to stay tuned and see. Not a guarantee, but all the previous Aprils that I've been subscribed, we've also gotten a sticker that month. And so let's get this out of the way. We're going to get into a couple knives. So first one is the Microtech SOCOM Bravo Mini. Recently did a video on this one. Really love this knife, and one of the requests that I got in the comments was, can we see it next to the full-size version of this knife, which I don't have, and if I don't have it, maybe against some other common knives that a lot of people own. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. Obviously, since I don't have the full-size version of this, we'll take a look at some other common comparable knives. And so not really common comparison that we see is the Spyderco PM2 and PM3. So we'll take a look first at the PM2. This is my PM2 with shipwreck copper scales, and they are kind of a mess. They got damaged. I need to strip that down and redo it. But not the point of this video. So you can see the PM2 is significantly larger than the SOCOM Bravo Mini, not just in length, but in width. So about an inch longer overall, but you can see the width of the handle and the width of that blade because of that Spidey hole make it significantly larger knife. Now, comparing it to the Para 3, this one actually ends up being a little bit shorter. It is still wider though, so that's worth noting. And I'm trying to line these up kind of butt to butt here to make sure we give an accurate portrayal of the difference in length. And so you can see this one's about a full inch shorter as well, maybe somewhere between 3/4 of an inch and an inch shorter, but pretty big difference. And this one lands right in the middle. And so thought that was an interesting comparison. Another common comparison, of course, is the full size bug out and the mini bug out. So we'll do that next with the full size going up top. So with the full size bug out, this one's actually already shorter than the SOCOM Bravo Mini, and so we really don't need to compare it to the mini bug out, but we will just for comparison's sake in case someone has the mini bug out versus the bug out. And so of course this one's going to be significantly shorter, and lining them up once again, you can see that the mini bug out is probably a full 1.5 inches shorter, where the full size bug out's maybe a 1/2 inch shorter, so not that big a difference. It is pretty comparable in size to the full size bug out, but definitely not to the mini bug out. Another common comparison is the Rat Model 1 and Model 2 from Ontario. Now I don't have a Model 1, but we'll take a look at it next to the custom Model 2 that I recently picked up from Way of Knife, but this is the normal dimensions of the Rat Model 2. And so you can see that's a significant bit shorter as well, probably close to a full inch once again. And so the Model 2 is definitely a smaller knife than the Microtech SOCOM Bravo Mini. Now I wanted to compare it to a Microtech as well. So this is an Ultratech Steamboat Willie version of it, but it is a normal size Ultratech, and you'll see that this absolutely dwarfs that SOCOM Bravo Mini too. Or Bravo Mini, and so it is decent bit shorter than the Ultratech, probably over a full inch there. And part of that is due to the glass breaker. If we were to remove that glass breaker and slide down, it's not as significant of a difference, but of course the glass breaker is holding on our pocket clip, and so we get about a full inch shorter than the Ultratech. And so those are the comparisons for the Microtech SOCOM Bravo Mini. Let's get into the next question that I got, which was on the Ria EXO utility blade, XOU. And so this is a gravity utility knife, really cool knife, and this should be coming out in April. There was a lot of comments confirming that they did mention they were targeting April for the release of this, and also a few that mentioned they're targeting $60. I paid $75 for it, so $60 would be an amazing price point. But the question was, could I slow down a little bit while showing the blade change? So I put in a dummy blade. This is a Big Eye design blade, and gonna just show how you change this blade a little bit slower, and hopefully that's helpful to the person that asked as well as anyone else who was curious. And so this kind of unique pattern here is acting as a spring. So there's two separate pieces, the spring, which is a part that you're removing, and the portion that is acting as kind of the holder for that blade. And so if you look at the top, we have these two notches on either side, wider on the top, closer together on the bottom, and there's a small portion on the spring that's sitting in each of those slots. There's also this open section in the middle, which is where you're supposed to put the pressure so that you can depress that spring and remove those notches from the slots, and then thereby being able to change the blade. So we're gonna do exactly that. Sometimes it just kind of snaps out of place, but because I have that dummy blade in there, not too worried about how that jumps out, and so we'll try and take it as slow as possible. So you see it did kind of just jump out there, but we'll put it back into place, and you'll see that this just slides out now, and we can take a look at the spring itself now and see those, hopefully it focuses, the notches on the top, which are here and here, and the notches on the bottom, which are here and here. And you can see the whole thing is kind of acting as a spring, and you can push that down to depress it. Now, worth noting that this is not mirrored, and so one side is shorter than the other, which is noteworthy when you're putting the blade back in. And so the blade itself only fits in specifically when it's locked into place, and so there's this notch up here. Depending on which way it's facing, it goes into either of those slots, but either way it'll kind of sit the same. It goes all the way to the end, and this shaped in there so that you can put that in without worrying about whether it's seated correctly, because it's very clear whether or not it is. If you're off that notch, it's not going to sit in there, and if you don't snap that spring back, the blade does not close. And so now, in order to Put that back in. Once we flip the blade around, as you can see, you're going to put the 2 notches on the end of this into the 2 slots on the bottom, and you kind of do that at an angle. Once those are lined up, you're now going to just put pressure on the top, push it down so that the other 2 notches can go into the slots that are right behind them right now. And so we do that, put them into the slots, and it is all locked into place. You can twist on that blade, it's not going anywhere, and if you don't do that fully, it will not close. So you can test it out by closing it up and see that it does close, so you know that you're seated properly. And again, this side is a little bit shorter, so had I tried to do that the other way, it just would not go into place. But hopefully that was helpful for both of those questions. I will respond to those comments letting you know to check out this video to find the information you were looking for, and hopefully other people had that same questions or those same questions and found this interesting as well. But again, would love to hear your thoughts on this month's notebook in the comments. Also, any questions you have on these, of course, always happy to answer to the best of my ability when I do get those questions. A lot of times I'm able to just answer them in the comments, but I thought these ones, it was more appropriate to show them in a video since they were very visual questions. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or joining the channel as a member, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.